WordPress is a free open-source blogging and content management system which is based on the PHP programming language and the MySQL database engine. At last count, WordPress is used by almost 17% of the Alexa Internet top 1 million websites and manages 22% of all new websites. When installing WordPress, you have two main options. The first option, if you have a hosting provider such as HostGator, Bluehost, or a variety of other hosting companies, is to use your provider's Quick Install method. On HostGator, it's called Quick Install, but it may go by a different name with other companies. The Quick Install feature allows you to install a multitude of open-source options for blogging, forums, content management, and many others. Once inside the Quick Install menu, find and select WordPress. In this example, it is located under the heading of Blog Software. Once selected, you are presented with a short description of WordPress, the version number, and the install size. Press the Continue link to proceed. Here you will have the option of where to install the WordPress software. In our example, we will install it in a test folder in one of our domains. Typically, however, you will want to install WordPress in the root or top level of your domain, which means you would not specify anything after the /, unlike what we are doing here. We are installing WordPress in a folder called WP Test under our mypodcastingexperience.com domain. The Enable Auto Upgrades option is up to you as WordPress will check for new updates itself. Enter an email address, a name for your blog, your first and last names, and the admin username. The first and last names are optional, but you must enter an admin username. We generally use admin, but please note, this cannot be changed after installation. The other fields, however, can be changed from within WordPress. Click the install link and the installation of your WordPress blog will begin. You will be presented with your admin password, which is dynamically generated, as well as a link to go visit your new WordPress installation. You will also receive an email with the same information. Clicking on the link will take you to your new installation's homepage. Find the login link, which is typically on the right-hand side of the page on the default WordPress theme. Click it to reach the login page. Enter your admin username and password. You are now logged into your new WordPress installation as the admin user, which provides you with the ability to change WordPress to suit your needs. We recommend that you change your admin password to something strong but easy for you to remember. Go to Users on the left-hand side of the page. Hovering over the option will display another context menu. Click Your Profile to access the admin's profile page. Here, you can scroll to the bottom of the page and enter a new password. WordPress will indicate what it thinks about the strength of your new password. Always use a strong password, but something you can remember. By selecting Settings on the left-hand side of the screen, you can change the way WordPress behaves. Under Settings and General, you can edit the name of the blog, the tagline, whether anyone can register as a user, the time zone, the date and time formats, and what day your week starts. The second method to install WordPress is the manual method. First, you will need to visit wordpress.org in your browser and download the latest version of the WordPress software. You can download it as a compressed zip file, which is common for Windows desktops, or the compressed gzip format, which is common for Linux desktops. For our example, we will download the zip formatted file for Windows. Select a location for the file to be stored. On Windows, this is generally the Downloads folder. Once the file has downloaded, navigate to its location and decompress or unzip the file. Windows has the ability to unzip the file into a folder. In our example, we are using a tool called 7-Zip, which is also free. Once unzipped, navigate to the folder where the files were unzipped to. Here, you will need to find the file name wp-config-sample.php. In Windows, right-click the file and choose Edit to open the file in the default text editor. Here you will enter the database name, the database username, and the database password for your WordPress installation. At this point, it is already assumed that the database has been manually created for your WordPress installation, but don't worry, this step will be covered shortly. When performing a manual WordPress installation, you need to generate unique authentication keys. Copy and paste the link presented in the config file into your browser. A unique set of keys will be generated. Copy and paste the keys from your browser's window into the WordPress config file, overriding the default placeholder keys. Leave everything else in the file as default. Now, save the file as wp-config.php. Using your favorite FTP program, log into your hosting account. In our example, we navigate to the www shortcut, which provides us access to a list of our domains hosted there. Here we find our mypodcastingexperience.com folder and change into it. Once inside, we create a new folder where our WordPress files will be uploaded to. Keep in mind that normally, you would upload your WordPress files directly here, which is the top level of our domain. But for this example, we create the folder called WP-Test2 to upload the files into. That means to access this WordPress installation example, we would navigate to http://mypodcastingexperience.com/WP-Test2. It doesn't matter if you create the database before or after you edit the WordPress config file. The important part is that all of the information matches. For our example, we go back to our hosting provider's control panel, which is cPanel on HostGator. Scroll down to the database section and click on MySQL Databases. On the next screen, you can create your database, which is generally prefixed with the username that you used when you signed up with your hosting provider. In our example, our prefix is _, so all of our databases are named _something. Now go back to the previous screen. If you already have a database username and password that you use for other databases, select it to be used for your new WordPress database. Otherwise, you'll need to create a new database username and password. You must supply the database user with the necessary privileges for your WordPress database. When creating database users for our WordPress databases, we select all privileges. As you can see here, we have our manually created database in the list along with other WordPress databases that were created using the quick install method. With the manual installation method, the first time you visit the URL of your new WordPress site, it will walk you through the initial setup such as the name of the site, the admin username, and the admin password. With the quick install method, a very nice feature pack is already installed. Many of the features that are part of Jetpack were once only available to the WordPress.com hosted sites. However, more and more functionality has been released in Jetpack over the last several versions of WordPress. In a manual WordPress installation, you will need to install the Jetpack plugin yourself. To work properly, especially to track site statistics, Jetpack must be connected to a WordPress.com account. If you do not have a WordPress.com account, you can create one for free. In our example on one of our sites, southgeek.me, you can see that we have Jetpack connected to our WordPress.com account and our site statistics are enabled. The site stats will provide you with a snapshot of the traffic to your WordPress blog. One of the major benefits of WordPress is the number of plugins that are available to enhance or add additional functionality to your site. Just a note, we always remove the Hello Dolly plugin from the plugin list because it really serves no real purpose. The Akismet plugin is very important and should always be activated. It helps to alleviate comment spam. You must have an Akismet API key, which is free to obtain. We're going to demonstrate installing and configuring certain plugins that we feel are important to a WordPress installation that will be delivering podcasts. The first plugin, Stop Spammer Registrations, is yet one more way to keep spammers off of your site. It works well with the Akismet plugin, even using the Akismet API key. The main plugin for our podcasting needs is called PowerPress. Be sure to spell it as one word when searching for it in the plugin directory. PowerPress does a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to podcast. Not only does it create the necessary enclosures in your RSS feeds needed for the iTunes podcast directory, but it provides various audio and video players for your site. As you can see, under the Feeds tab, there are various options that allow you to configure the podcast RSS feed. To configure your feed for iTunes, you will need to utilize the settings under the iTunes tab. Located at the top of the iTunes tab options, the iTunes subscription URL is the location URL that Apple sends back to you after your podcast has been accepted into their directory. Further down the page, you will enter keywords that will allow for better searching in iTunes for your podcast. Here, you also configure what categories best fit your content. The iTunes image is very important. Apple has changed the image dimensions a few times over the past year, with the current requirement being a 1400 pixel by 1400 pixel square image. Anything smaller only prevents your podcast from being highlighted in iTunes. We currently create our images as 2000 by 2000, just so we don't have to change them anytime soon, hopefully. Other options to set include the talent name and email address. In this tutorial, we will not cover the iTunes New Feed URL option. PowerPress defaults to the Flow Player Classic audio player, which is a Flash-based player. Many podcasters use the One Pixel Out audio player, which is perfectly fine. However, if you want users of iPods, iPads, and iPhones to play your podcast directly from your site, these players won't work. You will need to select and configure the HTML5 audio player, which is supported by Apple's iDevices. The downside to using the HTML5 audio player is the default player graphic is ugly and small. This can be changed by specifying a different image for the play icon. As we demonstrate on our SouthGeek site, we cropped an image of the One Pixel Out player, uploaded it to our site's media library, and specified it to be displayed as our HTML5 audio player play icon. As with the audio player, the video player can also be configured. The options are pretty basic, such as height, width, and an image to be displayed as a poster image on the video player. Another useful plugin is called Page Links 2. The Page Links 2 plugin allows you to create a page that actually links to another site or URL. Pretty Link Lite allows you to create pretty, memorable links from your long, non-descriptive blog post URLs. You can take a long or obscure show notes post such as mypodcastingexperience.com/05/12/my_first_show and create a pretty link like mypodcastingexperience.com/01. You can even track the number of times the pretty link has been visited, and you can forward parameters to it if needed. There is a paid version of this plugin that will provide you with more options. In this example, we demonstrate several pretty links that have been created on the SouthGeek site. Another very important plugin for your arsenal is WordPress SEO. Search engine optimization is important for any site that wishes to gain traction in the search engine rankings. This is not an in-depth tutorial on configuring WordPress SEO. However, the main points to recognize are the options that are now added to your post creation screen. You now have the snippet preview that shows how the post will look in search engine search results. It's important to configure a keyword or keyword phrase, particularly one that is in the title and content of the post. A meta description field allows you to specify a more targeted description of the post that will also be seen in the search engines. A button allows WordPress SEO to suggest a title that will be shown in the search results. WordPress SEO will provide indications of where your keyword was found. The more places, the better. At the top right of the post creation screen, WordPress SEO indicates by color how well your post is SEO'd. Green is good. Clicking the check link will allow WordPress SEO to show you the areas that need improvement. The WP Touch plugin allows your WordPress site to detect if the visitor is using an Apple iDevice. If so, the content is presented to the device in such a way that makes it more accessible and readable on the device. We generally leave the default settings for the WP Touch plugin. The Video.js plugin is an HTML5 video player plugin for WordPress that can also be selected and configured in PowerPress. Just like the HTML5 audio player, the Video.js player will fall back to using Flash if the user's browser doesn't support the specific HTML5 audio and video elements. Here we are demonstrating how to configure the default poster image for the HTML5 video player. If you want to track the downloads and listens of your podcast, then you will need to sign up with a service such as Blueberry or Podtrac. Both offer a free stats service. You place the required redirect URL under PowerPress, Settings, and the Service and Stats tab. In this demonstration, we show that we track with two services for this particular podcast. When creating the show notes for an episode of your podcast, you begin just like you're creating a blog post. Give it a title and write your notes. Do the appropriate SEO steps. This is where PowerPress comes in. Put the link to where your podcast is stored. This could be on Libsyn, Blueberry, or like what we use, Amazon S3 with CloudFront. PowerPress will verify that it can read the file. PowerPress will place the player in your post based on the general settings. However, we like to use the shortcode so we can control the placement better. Finish up by selecting your categories and choosing your tags. If your theme uses it, specify a featured image. Publish your post, and all of the necessary information will be provided in the RSS feed for iTunes and other podcast directories. As you can see here, we didn't update the player icon for the HTML5 audio player, so let's do that now by borrowing the one from the SouthGeek blog. Now that looks much better. We hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial on how to install and configure WordPress to use for podcasting. Podcasting is a fun and enjoyable method of expressing yourself and demonstrating your creative side. If you have further questions that this tutorial did not answer, please send an email to info@mypodcastingexperience.com. Also, please check out our ebook, Podcasting Year 1. It provides a wealth of information on hardware and software to use for recording your shows in audio and video, as well as live streaming them at the same time. You can find out more by visiting www.anero.tv/year1. Thank you for watching.